A very good evening. From stories around the world to stories here at home, this is the National News Broadcast. I'm Vidushni Sajith Kumar.
Good evening, I'm Clifford Richards. First of all, we take a look at the headlines.
The Gazette declaring health guidelines concerning the parliamentary elections issued. The President states that the priority will be given to increase local rubber production by certifying a proper price for rubber. The Premier states that development projects that benefit the people should be taken forward continuously. The UNP leader reiterates that the only party that can rebuild the economy is the United National Party. The investigatory report on the demolished Royal Court Hall to be submitted to the Premier on Monday. COVID-19 contracted Aishwarya Rai and her daughter hospitalized. Iran records 25 million COVID-19 positive cases.
And as usual, we start with our top story. The Gazette extraordinary detailing health and safety guidelines concerning the parliamentary election was published yesterday. The Gazette bearing number 218434 has been issued bearing the signature of the Minister of Health, Pavitra Vanyarachi, under the Quarantine and Disease Prevention Ordinary Guidelines and Regulations that political party candidates and voters need to comply with are detailed in this Gazette. The content is as follows. Quote, the first clause of these regulations may be cited as the Coronavirus Disease 2019 Elections Regulations number 1 of 2020. The second regulation details that every person who intends to organize a meeting in relation to an election during the period of an election shall give notice in writing prior to not less than 24 hours of the commencement of such a meeting to the Medical Officer of Health in the area in which the meeting is to be held. The third regulation details that the organizer of such a meeting who gives notice under the Regulation 2 shall ensure that the number of persons attending such a meeting shall not exceed 300 participants. However, at a meeting that involves the participation of a leader of a political party or an independent group, the number of participants shall not exceed 500. Under the fourth regulation, the organizer shall maintain a record of the name, national identity card, number of contact telephone number, and also every person attending such meetings. Provide adequate hand washing facilities with soap or sanitizer for the persons attending such meetings and ensure that every person who arrives at such premises washes their hands before entering. Ensure social distancing, not less than 1 meter between two persons, including speakers addressing such meetings. Ensure that every person who attends such meetings wears a mask at all times and disinfect the equipment, including the microphone, immediately after being used by a person. The fifth regulation states that groups of persons visiting the homes of electors during the period of an election for the purpose of canvassing for votes or the distribution of handbills or printed material shall not exceed 5 people. The sixth regulation details that the groups of persons referred to in the regulation 5 shall at all times wear face mask and maintain social distancing of not less than 1 meter between themselves and between the occupants of the house, and shall sanitize their hands before distributing handbills or other printed material to the occupants of the house. The seventh regulation details that every candidate in any election shall provide adequate hand-washing facilities with soap or sanitizer for the persons visiting the elections office and its premises, and ensure that every person who visits such office premises washes their hands before entering. Ensure social distancing of not less than 1 meter between two persons at such offices and premises. Ensure that every person who visits such offices and premises wear masks at all times. Ensure that no alcohol is brought into or consumed within such offices or their premises. And ensure that no games of chance or skills are played within such premises or offices. The eighth regulation states that every person at polling stations and their premises, counting centers and their premises, and the office of the Elections Commission and its premises shall sanitize their hands with soap or sanitizer before entering the polling station and its premises, counting center and its premises, and the office of the Elections Commission and its premises. Maintain social distancing of not less than 1 meter between two persons. Wear face masks at all times. The ninth clause defines the face during the period of an election. In these regulations, during the period of an election means period commencing from the announcement of the proclamation or order of the conduct of the referendum or the holding of an election as the case may be, and ending of the date on which the result of the poll is declared. End quote.
Well, now the Ministry of Education states that the additional vacation declared for schools has been extended by another week. Issuing a notice, the Ministry of Education states that the dates of the GCE Advanced Level Examination and the Grade 5 Scholarship Examination will be announced on Monday, the 20th of July. The notice further states that in schools in the Rajangane and the Valikanda Educational Zone will not be reopened before the 10th of August. The additional school vacation declared with consideration given to the health and safety of students was to end on Monday. Several rounds of discussions took place in this regard between health and education officers. At the discussions, the Director General of Health Services was of the stance that considering the reports received so far, currently there is no prevalence for a community transmission of the COVID-19 virus. The Ministry of Education has taken this decision since around 200 students and teachers in 5 districts are currently undergoing quarantine with their PCR test results expected in the days ahead, and considering that currently 3 students have contracted the virus. Therefore, to maintain the school system without obstructions or hazards, the Education Ministry states that therefore the most appropriate measure that can be taken to assure the safety of the children is separating them from society for another week. Thereby, the Ministry of Education has decided that the most suitable date for the recommencement of schools would be the 27th of July. During the week of recommencement, only students of grades 11, 12 and 13 need to attend school. The recommendation of the Director General of Health Services is that the suitable date to recommence classes for the other grades would be the 10th of August, which is the Monday following the general election. However, the relevant authorities have been instructed against recommencing classes in any school in the Rajangane and Valikanda educational zones before the 10th of August. In addition, considering requests put forward by a majority of the students and teachers, the Ministry of Education will announce the new dates of the A-levels and the Grade 5 scholarship on Monday.
Now, there is a country situation with regard to COVID-19. The number of fully recovered COVID-19 patients in the country currently stands at 2,023. Well, this is a percentage of 74.84. The number of patients undergoing further hospitalized treatment currently stands at 669, and this accounts for 24.75%. 6 COVID-19 positive cases were detected in the country today. They include 4 residents from Homagama who was identified and who come in close contact with the Kandakadu cluster, and a resident of the Lankapura area. The other COVID-19 contracted person is returning from the Philippines. The number of PCR tests conducted in the country as of today is 132,796. With 1,780 PCR tests conducted yesterday, the total number of COVID-19 positive cases detected from Kandakadu cluster stands at 555 as of today, out of which 444 of them are inmates of the Kandakadu Treatment and Rehabilitation Center for Narcotics Addiction, while 64 of them are staff members of the facility. The remaining 48 cases of this cluster were detected from amongst those who came in close contact with the cluster. Meanwhile, the organizing committee of the historic Ruhunumaha Katragama Devalaya Perahera states that devotees will not receive the opportunity to be present while the Perahera parades the streets this year. The Katragama pageant begins on the 21st of this month and is underway for 14 days. At a discussion held at the Kiribiharaja Mahavihara at Katragama today, it was decided to only engage in the Perahera rituals with a group of around 250 participants. While adhering to health guidelines, the participation of performers at the Perahera will be obtained after they are subjected to PCR tests. A special program is underway to educate individuals in the Colombo city with regard to the importance of wearing face masks. The first day of the special program took place at Bambalapitia today. Individuals found not wearing masks were gathered and advised on adhering to quarantine laws and health guidelines and the social responsibility of civil society on controlling the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, that's the situation at home, and now we take a quick roundup of the COVID-19 status across the globe. We move on to India. Aishwarya Rai Bachchan has been taken to hospital after testing positive for COVID-19 earlier this week. The Indian actress, a former Miss World and one of Bollywood's most famous faces, is being treated at Mumbai's Navanati Hospital. Her daughter, Aradhya, is also taken to hospital.
Indian actress Aishwarya Rai Bachchan and her daughter have been hospitalised for COVID-19 treatment, the Times of India reported on Saturday. Just days after her husband, Abhishek Bachchan, and her father-in-law were admitted. The pair, who are both major Bollywood celebrities, were taken to Mumbai's Nanavati Hospital early this week, making them the highest-profile patients of the pandemic in India. At the same time, Rai, a former Miss World who regularly appears on Most Beautiful lists, and her 8-year-old daughter, Aradhya Bachchan, tested positive for the coronavirus. They had previously been quarantining at home. A spokeswoman for Aishwarya Rai did not respond to requests for comment. 46-year-old Rai has worked on several Bollywood and Hollywood films and is a brand ambassador for some multinational companies, including L'Oreal. Fans across India prayed this week for the celebrity family as the virus continued its rapid spread without any sign of a peak. India has registered over 1 million coronavirus cases and has the world's third highest number of infections.
Well, from India to Iran now. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani today said that 25 million Iranians have been infected with coronavirus and another 35 million were at risk as Iran reimposed restrictions in the capital and elsewhere. The figures Rouhani cited in a televised speech were far higher than today's official figure of 271,606. His office said they were based on an estimated scenario from a report by the Health Ministry's Deputy Minister of Research. Authorities have reimposed 1-week restrictions in the capital, Tehran, including banning religious and cultural functions, closing boarding schools, cafes, indoor pools, amusement parks and zoos. The Health Ministry reported 188 deaths in the past 24 hours to take Iran's total to 13,979. Iran, with a population of more than 80 million, has been the Middle East country hardest hit by the epidemic, with infections and deaths rising sharply since restrictions were eased in mid-April.
And in UK, Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he hoped Britain could return to normality before Christmas, setting out a phased removal of the lockdown restrictions yesterday.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson set out new plans on Friday to lift lockdown restrictions. He said larger gatherings will be tested for safety and social distancing rules might be dropped before the end of the year. Companies were also given more discretion to decide whether employees should go back into workplaces if safe to do so.
It is my strong and sincere hope that we will be able to review the outstanding restrictions and allow a more significant return to normality from November at the earliest, possibly in time for Christmas.
Johnson did stress the plan depended on whether Britain was successful in keeping infection rates down and stopping a second wave. The UK has been the worst hit country in Europe, with more than 45,000 confirmed deaths. Some have argued the government was too slow to impose a lockdown and failed to ramp up testing. Opposition leader Keir Starmer said Johnson's new plan must be endorsed by experts to win public trust.
We're going to have to look at the details of the plan, but in the end, it's clear guidance, a credible plan and national leadership that will give confidence.
Friday's announcement also saw a financial boost for the state-funded health system of just over $3.7 billion. The government also said it will raise testing capacity.
Well, Captain Tom Moore, who became a national hero during the UK's lockdown by raising millions for health service charities, has been knighted by the Queen at the age of 100.
He became a national hero during lockdown in the UK, raising millions for health service charities. And on Friday, 100-year-old Captain Tom Moore was honoured for his efforts when he was knighted by Queen Elizabeth. The World War II veteran raised a record sum of £33 million, the equivalent of $41 million, by walking 100 laps of his garden in April in the run-up to his 100th birthday. His endeavour touched the hearts of the people of Britain and beyond as they faced a new adversity of the lockdown. It prompted Prime Minister Boris Johnson to nominate him for the award.
I'm absolutely overawed by the fact that this is such a high award that I should get, and from Her Majesty as well. What more can anyone wish for than that? That has been absolutely magnificent day for me. Thank you very much.
Captain Tom Moore, now Sir Tom Moore, received his knighthood at Windsor Castle, where the 94-year-old monarch has been shielding since March. It was one of the Queen's first official duties since the lockdown began. The ceremony was a private one, with Sir Tom accompanied only by members of his family.
We're staying for local stories after this short commercial break. Welcome back, and we continue with more local stories now. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa states that priority will be given to increase local rubber production by certifying a proper price for rubber. The president made this comment whilst attending rallies organized in the Kegal district to support the election campaigns of candidates contesting under the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna from the district. The president attended rallies organized at the Darniyagala Sirisaman Central College grounds and at the Darniyagala Children's Park. At the rallies, the residents of the area communicated to the president that since individuals engaged in the rubber industry do not receive a fair price, there is a decrease in the groups engaging in the industry. Issues faced by individuals engaged in the cultivation of pepper and other spices were also brought to the attention of the president. Former State Minister Kanaka Herath and Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna candidate Ajit Shaminda also attended the rally. The president also participated in a rally organized at Dehiyovita Junction at Ruwanwella. He engaged in a friendly discussion with the people at the rally, which was organized by Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna candidate Y.G. Padmasiri. Another rally was organized in the premises of the weekly fair opposite the Ruwanwella public grounds by Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna candidate L.H. Sudat Manjula. The area residents informed the president of developing the Riverside Road at Moralia and By Roads and the drinking water issue faced by the area. The president instructed the relevant officials to speedily initiate developing the rural roads of the district under the project to develop 100,000 kilometers of roadways. Attention was also focused on the issues faced by graduates and graduated development officers of the district. Several shortcomings observed in the Kitulgala area, which is an attraction for local and foreign tourists, were also brought to the attention of the president, and he instructed the relevant officials to resolve the issues speedily. Provincial Council member Vatsala Janadari Padmasiri presented a set of proposals to the president pertaining to the development in Kitulgala and Dehiyovita. Former State Minister Taraka Balasurya also joined in the rally. The president also joined in a rally organized in the premises of the Lavala Weekly Fair at Bulatkohupitia in Yatiantota. The rally was organized by Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna candidate Rajika Wickramasinghe.
Leader of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa states that it is the responsibility of any government to continuously take forward development projects that benefit the people. The Premier states that a government should not stall projects launched with the people's funds. The Premier expressed these views joining in a rally held at the Gamsabha Junction grounds in Nugegode today. The rally was also attended by Chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Professor G.L. Peris, and candidate Sarath Veerasekara. The Prime Minister said that his government ended the 30-year-old long war, and there was a challenge which was to develop the entire country together with the North and East, and the task was launched. He stated that the facilities were only restricted to Colombo, and the plan of his government was to develop the villages. Therefore, after developing Colombo city, the port city was initiated.
Well, leader of the United National Party, Ranil Wickremesinghe, reiterates that the only party that can be rebuilt the economy is the United National Party. UNP leader Ranil Wickremesinghe worshipped at the Jayashree Mahabodhiya in Anuradhapura and obtained blessings today. The UNP leader also called on Atamasthana Dipati Venerable Pallegama Sirinivasa Thera and engaged in a cordial discussion. Thereafter, he met with UNP supporters in the Anuradhapura area. UNP leader Ranil Wickremesinghe observed that the United National Party is the only party that has placed its election manifesto before the people for the forthcoming parliamentary election as of today. He further stated that if voters need to use the manifesto, it is accessible on the UNP website, unp.lk, in all 3 languages. He further stated that voters can get an understanding on rebuilding the country through the agroeconomy by accessing the website, unpplus.lk. The UNP leader focused on the government's intention to make the country self-sufficient. However, he pointed out that the unemployment issue still remains unresolved. He explained that his party has a work plan not only to cultivate for domestic consumption but also for exportation. He added that his party has a futuristic vision. UNP leader Ranil Wickremesinghe observed that by the year 2050, the population of the Indian Ocean region is projected to increase by 500 million, and this number is equivalent to the current population of the countries of European Union and Great Britain. He pointed out that future food production needs to be enhanced to meet the demand of an increased population. He noted that in this task, traditional agricultural farming methods will not be suitable as they will not be competitive in the exportation process. Therefore, the UNP leader pointed out that his party has plans to create a new agroeconomy with the relevant technology which will secure the household economy and increase the revenue earned by the people.
Leader of the Samagi Jana Balawege, former parliamentarian Sajith Premadasa, says that once he assumes the role of Prime Minister, the public will be granted with loans at an interest rate of 4% with immediate effect. The former MP Premadasa observes that the pledge given to the people by him to grant a 20,000 rupee allowance is being criticized by the opposition. Well, the leader of the Samagi Jana Balawege expressed these views participating in a rally organized by Chandrasiri Suryarachi in the Minneria electorate yesterday. Leader of the Samagi Jana Balawege, former parliamentarian Sajith Premadasa, said that he promises the people that steps will be taken to grant 20,000 rupees as an allowance for every family of the poorest section of society until the economy of the country is brought to a high level. He observed that as soon as this pledge was announced, opposition parliamentarians began slinging mud at his party, questioning as to how this pledge can be met. The leader of the Samagi Jana Balawege states that when they enhance the income level of the people, the consumption level increases, and alongside this increased savings and investments also increase. Leader of the Samagi Jana Balawege, Sajith Premadasa, also stated that concessionary loans will be granted at an interest rate of 4%. He added that a new program will be launched titled Gramarajya and Nagararajya.
Well, the leader of the National People's Power, JVP, former parliamentarian Anurakumar Dissanayake states that if an underlying and indomitable voice needs to be represented in Parliament, the most appropriate team for such a voice has been put forward by the National People's Power. The JVP leader voiced this comment participating in a rally held in the Bolasgamo area today. The rally was organized by attorneys at law supporting the National People's Power. Lawyers contesting from this alliance were also present at the rally. Leader of the National People's Power, former parliamentarian Anurakumar Dissanayake, observed that as a society, the entire citizenry is facing a situation of collapse as insecurity has caused even young children to be sexually abused. He further stated that if the people think that society loves its children, the question needs to be raised as to what assurance can be given in that respect. He noted that around 30,000 motor accidents were reported last year, and on an average, 8 deaths are reported per day. He pointed out that that theft is rampant and over 100,000 drug addicts consume toxic narcotic substances. Former MP Anurakumar Dissanayake charged that the country is heading towards degradation.
The report pertaining to the incident in which damages were caused to a building regarded as the King's Court Hall of the 13th century Kurunagala Kingdom will be submitted to Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa on Monday. The 5-member committee appointed upon the instructions of the Premier visited Kurunagala and conducted an on-site inquiry today. Chairman of the 5-member committee, Director General of Archaeology Dr. Sinarath Dissanayake stated that the damage was estimated and an assessment was done on the feasibility of reconstructing the building for conservation. He further stated that attention was focused on the manner in which reconstruction work needs to be proceeded if the possibility exists to reconstruct the building. The building is regarded as the royal court hall of King Buonakabahu, the first who established his kingdom at Kurunagala in the 13th century. This building has been declared as a monument of archaeological significance under the Archaeology Ordinance number 9 of 1940. A part of the building was demolished recently. Welcome back and heading into foreign news. A fire at the Cathedral in the French city of Nantes is believed to have been started deliberately. 3 fires were started at the site and an investigation into the suspected arson is underway, prosecutors say. The blaze destroyed stained glass windows and the grand organ at the St. Paul's Cathedral, which dates from the 15th century. It comes a year after the devastating fire at the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. But the local fire chief said that the fire at Nantes had been contained and was not a Notre Dame scenario. The damage is concentrated on the organ, which appears to be completely destroyed. The platform it is situated on is very unstable and risks collapsing. The cathedral roof had not been touched by the blaze. The President Emmanuel Macron has reacted, tweeting after Notre Dame, the St. Peter's Cathedral is in flames. Support to the firemen are taking place and the risk to the Gothic jewel is enormous.
Well, U.S. rhetoric is heating up on the South China Sea, a constant source of friction between China and 5 of its neighbors.
Chinese coercion in the South China Sea.
2 superpowers, multiple claims, 1 channel of water. Welcome to the South China Sea, where the US accuses China of building a maritime empire. The area is key to understanding regional relationships and tension between the world's 2 largest economies.
Continued concern about China's activities and militarization in the South China Sea.
Let's unpick the geography of the area, which spans over 2.5 million square miles. 6 of China's neighbours contest parts of the waterway. If China is holding the pen, it would mark nearly all of the territory, with a vague U-shaped 9-dash line. As you can see, that spans about 90% of the sea. It overlaps with numerous exclusive economic zones, or EEZs, of its neighbours. When you add in other overlapping claims, it begins to get really messy. China's most vocal regional critics are the Philippines and Vietnam, backed up by Brunei, Malaysia and Taiwan. The Philippines brought a suit at The Hague, which ruled in 2016 that China has no historic title over the waters. It also had sharp words for Beijing in early July, when China held military drills nearby. The Philippines foreign minister said the exercises would be met with the, quote, severest response if they trespassed into their territory. And US rhetoric has gotten more fiery on the issue as it butts heads with Beijing over issues from Hong Kong to trade to how China's handled the global health crisis.
We will then go use the tools that we have available.
July 13th marked the first time that the US has called Beijing's claims unlawful. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo accused China of a campaign of bullying.
And we will support countries all across the world who recognize that China has violated their legal territorial claims as well, or maritime claims as well.
China commonly holds military drills in the area, while the US regularly challenges China's claims by sailing through the waterway. Regional rivals have all accused each other of stoking tension. China has built military bases and artificial islands atop coral reefs, but says its intentions are peaceful. So why does everyone want a slice of the pie? Energy is one big answer. The South China Sea is potentially rich in oil and gas. It's also a strategic waterway. Around $3 trillion of trade passes through every year.